Bismillah, alhamdulillah, sallallahu sallam wa barak ala rasulillah, amma ba'd. Now I want to take a section from the book, Nasihati lin Nisa, my advice to women, or to the women, our sisters, by Abdullah al-Wadi'iyah, the daughter of the late great, the Allama, Muhaddith, Sheikh Muqbil ibn Hadi al-Wadi'i, rahimahullah ta'ala, wa tayyib Allahu mathwah. She says here on page 74, Tarbiyatul awlad, raising children, cultivating children, nurturing children. Tarbiyatul awladi shaqqa, فهم يحتاجون إلى صبر وسياسة. Raising children is difficult, it's burdensome, it's a means of struggle. Children are in need of patience, and they are in need of proper management, proper politics. You have to know what you're doing. You have to know what moves to make. You have to move strategically. You have to be tactful with regards to children, along with the actual sabr, the patience. She says that it's shaqqa, it's something which is difficult. So according to the author, if raising children is difficult, then it now takes the general rule of any other issue in life that's difficult, and that is to go back to the one who created and preordained and ask him for ease and facility. Anything that's difficult, being a wife, being a hijabi, quote unquote, a niqabi, I sweat, people make fun of me, people stare at me, men say bad things to me when I walk by, I don't have a husband, or my husband doesn't want to study, doesn't want to read, doesn't want to pray, my family, whatever the case may be, your own personal struggles, your own personal demons, whatever you find shaqqa, difficult, you have to ask Allah to make it easy. And if Allah doesn't make it easy, it'll never become easy. He's the one who created, number one. He's the one who preordained, number two. And His hand is the mulk, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He raises and lowers whom He wills, how He wills, whenever He wills, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So ask Allah to make it easy for you and to give you the strength, the patience, and the thickness of skin to raise children. That's the first point, that we benefit from the speech of the author. She then says, فَهُمْ يَحْتَاجُونَ إِلَى صَبْرٍ وَسِيَاسَةٍ. And they also need sabr. You have to be patient. Children won't necessarily listen to everything you say. They won't necessarily do everything you say. Children may pick up on your bad habits, and you don't want them to. You tell your child, your daughter, your son, your 9-year-old, your 10-year-old, your 15-year-old, listen, son, don't do that just because you see me doing it. It's a bad habit that I didn't have the ability to shake. I've been doing this for years, unfortunately, but you have a better chance. You don't need to do it. There's no good in it. And he still does it. Or she still does it. You tell your child to sit down. Don't play with that. Don't make that noise. Don't watch this. Don't do that. They still may not listen. Or you may not, you may want your children to develop and advance faster than what you can see. Why isn't he picking it up like I picked it up? Or like his older sister is picking it up? You need sabr. You have to be patient. Your child is sick. Everyone knows as children the worst thing is to have a sick baby. Is to have a child that has a fever, that's screaming, that won't sleep, that won't feed. SubhanAllah. You go to the doctors, it's a fitna. You have to have patience. You have to have sabr. Bidnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Having a child that's deformed. Having a child that's mentally challenged. Having a child which has a chronic sickness and needs sabr. Or a child that has a perfect form and figure, but they don't want to be righteous. Or whatever the case may be, you have to have patience. وَسِيَاسَةٍ. She says, and children, raising children, it demands and requires politics. You have to be wise. You have to be strategic. You have to be cunning. You have to be savvy. You got to know what you're doing. You can't do certain things in front of children. You can't hide certain things in front of children. You cannot interfere with the natural process how Allah made children. Don't interfere. Let the child color and rip the book up. Let the child write on the wall. Don't interfere with how the child wants to eat her noodles in the high chair. Let her do it. Don't interfere. And then there are other times in which you have to stop and you have to interfere. Don't do that. You can't do that, son. There are times in which your child is older and you still want to treat them like a little tiny baby. This is one of the biggest problems that most children suffer from. He says, Dad, I'm 15 years old. I'm not 10 anymore. I know. I get it. I got it. Class. But son, or your daughter, she says, I got it. Umi says, you sure? You have to have siyasa. You got to know what you're doing. Bidnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. Any other example that you want to make? Many times parents, they intrude in their children's personal business, and which the child doesn't want that. You have to know what to do, what not to do, okay? It takes a sound mind of the parent, and it takes political know-how, okay? The author, she then says, ومن ذلك أن بعض الأطفال يحتاج إلى معاملة برفق ولين ولا يجب رفع الصوت عليه ولو عمل معه بضد هذا لتعنت. She says, furthering this concept is the reality that some children need to be treated gently, softly, and it's unnecessary to raise your voice at this child. And if you were to do that, then the child would run away. The child would be extremely embarrassed. The child would just ball up and curl up. The child would find it very difficult to interact with you or to speak with you. This is a reality. The child does something, a mistake, you holler, or you hit the child, or you say this and you say that. It's okay. It's all right. No problem. Are you mad at me, Abby? Not at all, honey. Labas. It's fine. I'll buy another one. It's okay. Are you sure, Abby, this was your favorite glass? Alhamdulillah. Just be more careful next time, sweetheart, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan. Shukran. Like this. And maybe the child is smart enough to understand that she broke a valuable plate or glass or your favorite teacup, and she gets the point next time. You don't have to holler. You don't have to raise your voice and scream and become angry and become incensed with rage. She says, وَبَعْضُ الْأَطْفَالِ, and before we go on, the child may never want to serve you tea again. She may never want to try to wash the dishes herself again. Your 12-year-old daughter, because the way that you hollered at her because she broke your plate that your grandmother gave you. She may never want to participate ever again. So you have to be mindful of this. She says, وَبَعْضُ الْأَطْفَالِ يَحْتَاجُ إِلَى مَنْ يَشُدُّ عَلَيْهِ ولكن هذه الشدة لا تكون زيادة على العرف فإن زادت على ذلك حملت الوالد على التعنت وعدم الإصغاء إلى توجيه أبويه. She says other children are the exact opposite. You have to be a bit harsh. You got to be a little stern, a little tough now. But it can't be something that's extreme. It can't be something that is above and beyond what's normal. And when you go too far and you're too harsh, too much iron discipline, he says, once again, the child may curl up and ball up. The child may break down. The child may find it very difficult. And the child may turn away from listening to the parents in the future. So how do you know which child to be soft with, which child to be rough with? How do you know when to holler, when not to holler? Or should you holler at all? How do you know when to use discipline, so on and so forth? You have to know the differences of your children. And even with one child or with a group of children, you have to know how to mix it. A mixer, a sound boy. You know how to equalize. You know how to play with the buttons. This volume goes there, the treble, the bass. You have to play with it. It has to be a balance. It can't always be the same style. You holler, go to your room, your own punishment. I beat you. I'm upset with you. It can't be the same thing. Even when you say good things to your children, great job, alhamdulillah, oh, that's nice. It can't always be the same thing. You have to diversify your approach. And don't ever underestimate the mind of a child. Don't think that children are stupid and that they're dumb. And don't think that children can't see when you're being fake. Or when you really don't feel like talking to them. They say, oh yeah, that's nice, honey. Yeah, right, go. Abby's busy. Don't think that they can't see through that. So be mindful of this. Abdullah, she then says, فنسأل الله أن يرزقنا حسن الرعاية والمسؤولية عظيمة في عنق الأبوين. قال الله تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا. وفي الصحيحين من حديث عبد الله بن عمر قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول فالإمام راع وهو مسؤول ورجل راع على أهله وهو مسؤول والمرأة راعية في بيت زوجها وهي مسؤولة والعبد راع في مال سيده وهو مسؤول ألا فكلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول. وهذا الحديث هو من جوامع كلمه صلى الله عليه وسلم، فما من أحد مكلف إلا وعليه مسؤولية. وفي الصحيحين من حديث معقل بن يسار رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال: ما من عبد استرعاه الله رعية فلم يحثها بنصيحة إلا لم يجد رائحة الجنة. She says, due to the fact that this is a reality, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to have good cultivation of our children, to raise our children in a good manner. And it's a tremendous responsibility that we have. She says, on the necks of the parents, the literal translation, that's the mas'uliyah, it's on your neck, like a noose. It's something that is heavy, burdensome. Don't take it easily, don't take it simply. It's not a joke. She says, Allah Azza wa Jalla tells in the Quran al-Kareem, O you who believe, protect yourselves and also protect your families from a fire. It states in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, narrated Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhuma, the Messenger of Allah alayhi sallam said, each and every one of you is a ra'i, meaning a shepherd, meaning a cowboy, meaning someone who has sheep, goat, bulls, cows, horses. You're a ra'i, you have a flock, a herd. And each and every one of you is going to be responsible for his flock and his herd. The Prophet says, making examples of this, the Imam, meaning the Khalifa of the Muslims, the ruler of the Muslims, he is ra'in, he's responsible, and he's going to be questioned and asked by Allah about his subjects. What did he do? How did he behave? What did he do with the wealth of the Muslims? Did he play around with their wealth? Embezzlement, take their money and ship it to banks in Switzerland and France while the country is starving and poor, a third world country, total prehistoric plumbing, electricity, the roads, there's no subways, there's no trains, there's nothing that's been done for the people. The bid'ah, the graves, the shrines, what is the leader of the Muslims doing? Allah is going to ask him about this on the Day of Judgment. Did he establish the hudud of Allah, the punishments that Allah sent down? Did he establish the banner of jihad fi sabilillah? Allah is going to ask him about this. He says, and a man is ra'in, he's a shepherd regarding his ahl, his family, and he's going to be asked about his wife. Did you teach your wife? Were you gentle to her and kind, or were you harsh and grumpy? Did you fulfill her needs and desires that are permissible? Was she cold when it was December? Was she hot in August? Was she thirsty? Was she hungry? Did you enjoin the good and forbid the evil regarding your wife? Were you a companion and a friend to your wife? Or did you treat her in a foul, volatile manner? The husband will be asked about all of these things, the deen and the dunya of his wife and of his children. Pay close attention. The deen and the dunya. Some brothers, they take care of their wives in a beautiful way when it comes to the worldly material possessions, but there's no deen whatsoever. And there's some brothers, they take care of their wives with regards to the deen, and there's nothing with regards to the material needs and necessities, or even wants. It doesn't have to be something that's obligatory or mandatory. وَعَاشِرُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Allah says, treat them kindly. It doesn't have to be something that's mandatory. You see your wife say, I want some ice cream. I want an ice cream cone. Ben and Jerry's, Haagen-Dazs, ice cream at 12 a.m. at night. I don't feel like it. I'm tired. You just had ice cream. I don't want to go out to 7-Eleven. Get her the ice cream if you can. It doesn't have to be wajib and fard for you to treat your wife kindly. And the same applies to your children. The Prophet ﷺ, he then says, and a woman is ra'ya. She's a shepherd as well. A she-shepherd. Okay, a cowgirl. She's someone that has to look after these animals now. Okay, speaking metaphorically. She has to take care of them, and she's going to be responsible with regards to that which Allah put upon her, her husband's house. Fi bayti zawjiha, the hadith says. Bayti zawjiha. What is my house like? When I come home from work, 12 hours I've been working, 16 hours I've been working, and this is a reality, and we're not trying to be funny, but this is real. Brother comes home, his wife is sitting on the sofa watching TV. Food is not prepared. She's wearing sweatpants and a long shirt. Her hair, only Allah knows best what it looks like. Only Allah knows what's her appearance like. The children are running crazy. Nothing's in order. Nothing has been taken care of. He just was out working like a slave to take care of them, and it's just, oh, wa alaikum salam, and she flicks the remote. Yeah, the food is going to be done soon, or it's in the microwave. Subhanallah. Or the children are doing haram things, watching haram things, listening to haram things. Nothing is in order. She spent all of your money from your account. She ordered these things that you don't need. Order these things that I said don't order. Order this expensive stuff or whatever. Wasted the money, whatever the case may be. She's responsible for everything that happens in his household. And pay close attention. The Prophet ﷺ says, Beiti zawjiha, her husband's house. Akhi, if your wife has her own house and she is paying the rent or paying the rent in the apartment or taking care of the bills or whatever the case may be, if that's what you agree upon, tayyib. It's not necessarily haram, but you cannot expect absolute obedience. You cannot expect absolute submissiveness of your wife to follow the sunnah, and she's the one who's taking care of the house and the bills. And this is tremendous wisdom. Why the Prophet ﷺ instructed us for the man to be the breadwinner, the hunter and the gatherer, the one who brings home the game to the cabin or to the hut, to the yurt. Not the woman. The man is supposed to provide. He's supposed to take care of. He's supposed to pay the bills. And from the wisdoms behind this is, let alone the nature of the woman, the softness of the woman, the kindness of the woman, her staying in the home, her hijab, her shyness, raising children properly and not sending them to a daycare center. But despite all of these things, is the wisdom that the more the wife needs the husband, the more the wife is dependent on the husband, she's going to think twice before she disrespects him or reacts and behaves in a proud manner or a prideful manner. Inshallah, hopefully. Okay, and there are some women, unfortunately, they don't care what the husband does. They could care less. I don't care how much bills you pay, what you buy for me, I'm still going to disrespect you. Obviously, that's a wretched sister. May Allah guide us and guide her. But a sister who wants to do good and who has some type of honor, some type of respect, she's going to stop and she's going to think, everything that I have, my husband bought for me. When I drink, my husband bought the spring water. When I eat, my husband bought the food. When I lay on the bed, my husband bought this bed. He takes care of me. So let me think twice when I want to be ungrateful or disrespectful, or when I want to refuse him of his rights. And we say this in our modern culture, never bite the hand that feeds you. That's common wisdom. Never bite the hand that feeds you. Also is the concept of when a woman has to leave the house and work for all of these hours, she works for an 8-hour shift. It takes an hour to get there on a train, in a car, an hour to get back, rush hour. She's going to be tired. She's going to be hot. She's going to be bothered. She's not going to want to work for all of those hours and come home and be this super wife that's going to study with you and read to you and give you a massage and take care of the children and cook the food and scrub the floor. Where is she going to find time to do these things? And if she does do these things, it's going to be a strain and a stress, a burden upon her. And she's going to be sarcastic. She's going to say this. And she's going to say, I was out all day working. And where were you at? The masjid with the brothers. I was sitting in a lecture, learning. So what? I was working. And the list goes on. Or you may find a sister, she may say, I work, I study, I take care of my children, I cook the foods, I'm a super mom. So don't tell me anything. And don't make no excuse, so on and so forth. These words don't come from a housewife. They don't come from a housemaker. They don't come from a woman that is in the house all day being taken care of by her husband. She may say other things, which the Prophet ﷺ said that a woman is from a rib, and it's a crooked rib, and لَن تَسْتَقِيمَ لَكَ عَلَى طَرِيقَ. He says she should never be straight for you 100%. But she's not going to say those words. She may be ungrateful in other aspects, but a certain things she just doesn't have the ability to say. Khairan, inshallah. The author, she then says, quoting the hadith of Abdullah ibn Umar, and the slave is also held responsible to the end of that part of the hadith. And she says that the Prophet says, أَلَا فَكُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ. Each and every one of you is a shepherd, and each and every one of you is responsible for his flock of animals. So the Prophet ﷺ, he began with that statement, and he ended his words with that statement to show you the importance and the emphasis of this responsibility. She says this hadith is from the collective, comprehensive, laconic words of the Prophet ﷺ. The things which were only a few lines a paragraph or two, but could be explained in volumes and can be expanded upon or expounded upon in works. Words that were so wholesome and so comprehensive. It states in the Sahihain as well, in Bukhari and in Muslim, and we're still on the first page of the book, and you can see the pedigree that Abdullah came from. You can see her lineage. You can see that she is a quote-unquote hadith aristocrat. It's in her blood. It's in her genes to be like her father. وَفِي الصَّحِيحَيْن وَفِي الصَّحِيحَيْن وَفِي الصَّحِيحَيْن وَفِي الصَّحِيحَيْن. To quote Bukhari and Muslim, hadith after hadith after hadith after hadith. That was the style of her father, and alhamdulillah, she learned that style well. Alhamdulillah, the Shaykh rahimahullah, bidnillah, hopefully, inshallah, he taught her that style well. And this is the beauty of raising your children properly. This is the beauty of giving the necessary time. This is the beauty of marrying a righteous wife. This is the beauty of making dua before you have intercourse with your wife. This is from the beauty of you eating the halal food and living in a permissible way, living a true Islamic way, and not living a double standard life, is that you have beautiful children. You have children that spring forth and sprout forth, and inshallah they walk in your path, they take your legacy. Naam? And this also goes to show us that, as we say all the time, the wise quotes and statements of some of the ulama of the past and the Salaf al-Salih, they're not prophetic words. And sometimes they're not, or they don't have they never have absolute, the point I'm trying to get to is that they're not absolutely 100% right all the time. Because it's a well-known statement that Yahya ibn Ma'in, the Imam of Hadith of his time, the great friend of Imam Ahmad, he says, أَرْبَعَةٌ لَا تُؤْنِسْ مِنْهُمْ رُشْدًا. He said 4 people that you should never expect to do well. And he mentioned from them, he says, Ibn al-Muhaddith. He says, is the son of a scholar of Hadith. The son of a scholar of Hadith. The child of the scholar of Hadith. Don't expect him to do well. In other words, in light of what many of the people of the past used to say, أَقَلُّ النَّاسِ انْتِفَاعًا بِعِلْمِ الْعَالِمِ أَهْلُ or waladu. They says those people who take the least benefit from the scholar are his children or his family. Now, this is oftentimes correct. Unfortunately, this is a bitter reality. You find the children of the imam, the children of the scholar, of the sheikh, from the furthest from the deen. Or if they're religious, they don't care about studying. They don't want to hear hadith. What do you mean? I want to go study engineering. I want to be a singer or a dancer. Wallahi, it is a reality. You go to Medina and you visit the mashayikh in their homes, and oftentimes you run into one of his sons, or his sons comes in to give the salams or to pour the tea. He has no beard. His pants beneath his ankle, and his father is sitting on a sofa with hundreds of students from all over the world, different countries, or not hundreds, depending on how big his house is, but many students. And they're asking him all types of questions, and his son doesn't even care about growing his beard. His son, he says, I sent my son to America to study math or to study this. Oh, you're from Philadelphia? Nah, my son is there at Temple University. Can you get someone to help him out? He said, I thought you would think your son will be learning like us. It's not always the case. In most cases, it's the opposite. However, there are instances in which the son or the daughter does become a prodigy and does do well and does take the legacy of the father. وَلِلَّهِ الْحَمْدِ. And you never know where Allah is going to place your barakah. You may have only one child, and Allah may make that one child the chosen one. You may have 3 children, and only one of them is religious, or whatever the case may be. And from the reasons behind this is, oftentimes, the alim is so busy with his teaching and delivering the message and being available to the people. Oftentimes, when he sees his family, it's family time. And they don't look at sheikh and imam, they look at father. Okay? Or whatever the case may be. Only Allah knows why that is the case. But it's very often, if you look at many of the modern day ulama today, you look at, for example, Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah. Did he have sons or daughters? Shaykh bin Baz, Shaykh Uthaymeen, all of these great ulama, you ask yourselves, where are their children? Why don't we hear about their children? Why have their children become like their fathers or something like their fathers? Only Allah knows. Only Allah knows. However, the ulama, they have hundreds and thousands of students from all over the place, all over the world who want to be like them. How many students are there at Ibn Baz? All of the different ulama who went to Riyadh and studied in Riyadh and from Medina, they all benefited from Ibn Baz. Have you ever heard of Ibn Baz's son? Have you ever heard of Sheikh Uthaymeen's son? Have you ever heard of Albani's son or daughter? But you hear about this one and that one. He's in this country, he's in that country, he's in this country. You benefited from them. So this shows us is that statement is not absolute, and that it can be a child of a scholar of hadith, bidnai ta'ala, who can do well. So we see her usloob is to be like her father and to constantly quote from the Sahihain, Bukhari and Muslim. It is the narration of Ma'qil ibn Yasar, radiyallahu anh. The Prophet ﷺ said, any slave whom Allah Azza wa Jalla entrusts with a responsibility, any slave, anyone, man, woman, child, whoever you are, and Allah gives you a ra'iyah, here meaning similar to ra'i, a flock, making you a leader, you're a head of someone, a coach of a team. He says, and you don't give sincere, transparent advice, you don't do what's necessary, you never smell the fragrance of Jannah. You never smell the fragrance of Jannah. ولا بد من تعاون الأبوين في تربية أولادهما ولو أهمل واحد منهما ما عليه من المسؤولية لبقي جانبه فيه نقص إلا ما شاء الله. He says, and it's a must that the parents cooperate with each other with regards to raising children. You have to cooperate. It's not just all upon the mother. It's not just all upon the father. It's not just my job to teach the children, clean the children. No, it's your job too, to teach them and to raise them. If I'm too busy working, then I'm taking care of the finances, then you take care of the education. But we have a day off, read a book. When you can, read a bedtime story, read an Islamic story of the prophets to your children. The man has to do that as well. They have to help. Or if the man can't do it, the man may not know how to read, or he may not know Arabic. He may not be studious. But at least work and provide the books. Allow your wife to have a nice car to drive to the masjid, a dependable car to go to the classes, to have the things online, pay the internet bill. Everybody understand this? It's very important. They have to help each other out, work together. He says, and when one of the parents is negligent, when one of the parents doesn't fulfill his fair share of the workload, he says, then that side is going to be imbalanced. And the child is going to suffer from imbalance and deficiency with regards to the negligent or lacking parent. So as we said before, no matter how many jobs a woman works, no matter how many football games or basketball games you take your son to, no matter what you want to do, you can never ever be the child's father. Never. And this is something that many sisters, they have a problem with. All right? Thinking, not just having to play the role or fulfill the role, but actually thinking it and actually arrogantly saying it, I'm his father. You can't be your son's father, period. You can't be your daughter's father, period. You can be a mother, you can take him there, you can do this, you can do all of that stuff, but it's not the same as a male, as a man. And the same applies to a woman. You can never be the mother of your children. You can be a great dad, super dad, but it's not the same as them having a female side. So if you haven't remarried yet, or you can't get remarried, or you're in a situation, whatever the case may be, then you have to provide a substitution or an outlet through an uncle, a grandfather, your brother, whatever the case may be, your cousin, the righteous brother, righteous sister at the masjid, somebody that can, bidnai ta'ala, fill that missing role. Abdullah, she then says, وَيُعَلِّمُ الطِّفْلُ حَسَبَ مَرْتَبَتِهِ وَفَهْمِهِ وَإِلَيْكَ شَيْئًا مِنْ ذَلِكَ. She says, and the child should be taught and educated according to how much the child can understand, according to the level of the child. Pay attention now. Mental level and physical level. Some children can't do certain things. They're just not strong enough. They're not tall enough. They're not small enough to do this. And some children aren't smart enough, or they're just not ready for it. They're not articulate enough to read this book or to study this or to memorize this surah. So you have to teach your child, raise your child according to their levels. Now, obviously, you have to always push, but you can't push too hard. If you push too hard, you may push them in the wrong direction, and you may get them not to like it. She then says, فَمَثَلًا, and then she says, now I want to give you a few points of advice. A few points with regards to raising children and how and what you should and shouldn't do. فمثلا في المرحلة الأولى أولا يلقن الطفل الله مع الإشارة بالإصبع إلى السماء. ثانيا إذا أعطيتيه طعاما أو كسرة خبز أو نحوها تناوليه في يده اليمنى. ثالثا إذا كان طعام حارا فلا تنفخي فيه، فإن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم نهى عن التنفس في الإناء كما في الصحيحين من حديث أبي قتادة: ولو رأى الطفل من يفعل ذلك لوجدته سرعان ما يطبق ذلك، وهكذا جميع الأشياء. وهذا كله مصداق لقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: ما من مولود إلا يولد على الفطرة فأبواه يهودانه أو ينصرانه أو يمجسانه. وفي صحيح مسلم من حديث عياض بن حمار رضي الله عنه قال: قال الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم: إني خلقت عبادي حنفاء فاجتالتهم الشياطين. She says, first and foremost, is that the child should be taught about Allah. Should be taught about Allah. And to point to Allah with their finger towards the heavens above. Get the child, say Allah to your baby or to your child and make them point above. And get them to say Allah from a young age. Number two, whenever you give your child a piece of food, you should give it to them in their right hand. Make them, force them when they're young, small infants or whatever, babies, toddlers, to eat with their right hand from a young age. Number three, if the food is hot, then she says don't blow on it or blow in it, because the Prophet ﷺ has forbade a person to blow in a vessel, as is in Bukhari and Muslim, narrated by Abu Qatada radiallahu anhu. We've explained in our lessons on Al-Lu'lu wal Marjan the meaning of this hadith, what's meant by blowing in food or on food, and it doesn't necessarily mean, or we don't necessarily agree with the author, that that's what it means here, that you can't blow in a vessel, fil ina. We've explained that in our lessons on Al-Lu'lu Marjan, the view and the meaning that we feel is proper and correct with regards to this issue. And we explained that it does not necessarily mean, especially if you're drinking by yourself, that you can't blow on your cup of tea or cup of coffee or your food. It doesn't mean that. We explained what some of the ulama say, that when a person is sharing a cup or sharing a drink with someone, when they drink, they should breathe outside of the ina and not take the cup and breathe while they're drinking and put spit back in the cup, or their breath, as we say, backwash. I don't want to drink after you, it's backwash in it, people say. You spit in it, or it's particles, floaties, we say. Floaties in the cup. Everybody understand this? And it doesn't necessarily mean that a person cannot blow on something if it's hot or cool, whatever the case may be, if it's theirs. Let alone if the next person doesn't mind. They say it's a taqdir. You make the cup or the vessel nasty because you were breathing when you were drinking for the next person. It does not necessarily mean that it's absolutely haram to blow on food or in a cup. Let alone the fact what most of the ulama say that it's makruh and not necessarily haram. So therefore, this is just a pointer. We don't necessarily agree with that. If you give your child something to drink or a piece of food, it does not mean that it's haram or disliked to blow on it and to cool it off. Now, if you want to just avoid any issues and wait for the food to cool off, that's fine. But it doesn't necessarily mean that, We don't necessarily agree with that point. Khairan, inshallah. She then says, and if you do this with your child, then bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, you'll see that the child will implement these things very quickly. The child will start doing the small things that you show them that are from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. We'll stop here. Hopefully, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, in the next session, we'll be able to continue. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. We ask Him and we beg Him to allow us to give the necessary tarbiyah of our children. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.